We need to know ourselves to the degree that we know what we're about. What do we stand for? What's our grand unifying theory? You know, is it love? Is it truth? Is it compassion? Is it justice? See, those four things I just mentioned are actually polar opposites. Justice and compassion are polar opposites. Love and truth are polar opposites. Love says, I will protect you. Come in, and you have the room to work it out, and I will protect you while you do that. Justice says, hey, you screwed up, you're accountable. You have to take responsibility for your mistakes, and you have to make restitution. That's justice. That's the opposite of let me protect you. Justice says, hey, you need to make this right. See, so those are polar opposites. What are the other two? Compassion and justice, love and truth. Love is the same way. I accept you unconditionally, whereas truth says, you got something in your teeth. You see, truth is a bright light. Truth is non-discriminating. Truth doesn't care about what you feel. Truth wants the facts, just the facts. You know, this is working, this is not working. This is what you're saying is correct, and you're lying. You see, that's truth. But love is saying, honey, I know you're lying, but I love you anyway, and I'm going to include you in my life, and you know, while you grow up, right? But truth says, hey, you know, you're either white or black, you know, hot or cold. There's no in between. So, you know, make up your mind. When you do, then come see me. You see, that's the kind of polarity that we're talking about here. So this first commandment says, you got to have that. If you don't have that, your life is going to devolve. If you take away this superordinate principle, what are you left with? You're left with polar opposites. That's all you have left is a polarization. And within polarization, there's no way to work anything out. All you have are two positions. That's all you've got. And so you will do anything at that point to win. You see, because there is no superordinate principle. There is nothing up here that says we're going to honor truth no matter what. No, we're going to devolve into this Machiavellian scheme of whoever can use words in a powerful way, powerful enough to convince anybody. In other words, you know, propaganda or spin or just flat out lying. Whoever does that the best wins. See, and then we find ourselves in the position we're in now, where nothing is getting done because of the polarization. Half the people feel one way, half the people feel the other, because we've lost the superordinate principle. We've lost God, you see, because there is a philosophical movement afloat that says there is no superordinate principle. There is no grand narrative. All there is power. You see, that's a philosophical position. All there is power, and the ends justify the means. Now, what does that do? That utterly obliterates the rule of law. That's where you have then political parties using the law or using the legal system to go after their political opponents. It's what, you know, it's what's been happening, and it's what everybody's afraid will happen if the other guy gets in office, because all we have left is power, the struggle for power. We've lost God. We've lost the idea that there's one thing that we can all look to, and it's written right in our documents, right? It's life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It's like everyone has the right to live, nobody can just take you out because you're in their way politically or economically or whatever, you know, and that see, that translates into monopoly, where you know, if we really believe in the right to life, then we have to say that companies, which are really enterprises, you know, started by individuals, that companies, as long as they're operated lawfully, have a right to exist. And so any larger company that comes in and just systematically undercuts smaller companies and wipes them out, that's a violation of the rule of law. That's a violation of the principle of everyone has the right to live. See, I know that I'm treating companies like an individual, but companies are made of individuals, like, you know, especially small companies. And that's really where this comes into play, because, you know, we've all seen instances where a small town has a big box store come in and it wipes out the local economy. And they can do that because they have economies of scale, which means they can buy products for less and sell them for less, way less than what small companies can sell them for, because smaller companies don't have those economies of scale. So that's called a monopoly, and that has gotten completely out of control in this country and in the world. And more we're losing the small mom and pop operations, which is where, like, you know, I lived in Silicon Valley for almost 20 years, and startups were really important, you know, because that's where all the innovation is. And even like some of the best hardware stores I have ever seen in my life, and I love hardware stores, I just feel good whenever I walk into one, have been in small towns where the big box stores can't get a foothold. There's just not enough people. But these hardware stores have everything, and the prices aren't that bad. But even if they're higher than what you can get them at, you know, at a big box home store, you're willing to pay it because the place is so great and has everything you want or need or can even imagine. So the point of this is, if you violate the principle of the right to life and apply it in a business sense, then you see what happens, which is a homogenization. You can go into any of the big box stores in this country, they're all the same. You know exactly what to expect. And therefore, the quality, because of their business model, they have to keep only those things on their shelves which they know will sell. But that one thing that you really need but is unique, they don't have it, like, ever. You have to go online. Whereas in the old stores, you'd have somebody who, maybe generations of people of a family have been running that store. They know their customers. They know the odd thing that's needed from sometimes. And they make sure they have it. That's been my experience when I've run into these small family-owned hardware stores throughout the country. And as you know, I traveled for 2 years. So this is one way in which this works, and how the violation of these principles undercuts everyone and eventually reduces all political action to a polarized oppositional quagmire, because we've lost the idea, the principle of everyone has a right to life. And but if you're big enough, then you can run the show and you can obliterate your enemies and get off scot-free. That doesn't work, and we're seeing how it doesn't work. And this operates on many different levels, because the big box stores, even though they are necessary because they have physical things, they're being pressured by Amazon, right? You can order almost anything online now, and it's hurting the big box stores in the same way that the big box stores hurt the mom and pop businesses. So you see that like if society was this huge statue, it's rotting from the feet up. The feet turn to clay and then they get brittle. and as they get brittle, they start to break, and the whole structure starts to collapse upon itself. That's how civilizations collapse. And we're watching that now. Unless, and that's what's going to happen, unless we can reverse the trend and reestablish a principle that we can all agree on. Something that is so good and so true and so beautiful that everyone, no matter who they are, will say, yeah, that's the meaning of life. That's what we should all be aiming for. One of those is the rule of law.